Hey there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just talk about the second section of the modulator is the filter envelope. Um, and these envelopes will define the shape of the sound. All right. So basically, every sound we have is going to have a level at which it sustains. And right now you can see that both of these filter envelopes and the amp envelopes, the sustain is at 10, meaning it's just going to sustain at full volume. All right. You can move that down or you can move it up. But basically, the attack is going to say, is going to define how long it takes that note, how that sound to get up to full volume. So what I want to do, or um, to the full filter effect. All right, and then the decay is, so it's going to attack up to full volume, and then it's going to decay to the sustained volume, and then when you let go, how long is it going to take to release? So the amplitude envelope is actually a little easier to deal with, so that's why we do it first. But here we're going to talk about the filter envelope. So what I want to do right now is, for our purposes here, I'm just going to take just a plain old sawtooth note. Okay, notice it's just when I press the button, when I press the key, it just turns right on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little filter effect on that. I'm going to just take a little bit of high end off that. Okay, so now I've kind of calmed that note down a little bit, taking some of those higher frequencies off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the attack and I'm going to slow it down. Notice it's at basically 0 right now. It says 1 millisecond attack. So I'm going to put that up at 500 milliseconds. So that means it's going to take about half a second to get up to the full filter effect. Now, we actually haven't given it any filter effect to have. So what I'm going to have, I'm going to just increase the amount of filter effect a little bit. And so what it's going to do, this right here is going to increase this filter. It's going to just increase it by 30%. So now you'll hear it come up to a little bit higher rate. So this actually is going to be the difference between what this is and what it eventually ends up as. So can you hear that filter effect just kind of blossom in? That's a relatively slow attack. It could be faster or much slower. Notice I can bring it all the way up to 5 seconds to attack on the filter. So let's actually leave it as like a relatively just medium blossom of that filter sound. Okay, now it's at 10 sustain, so it's actually not going to decay at all. If I change this, it's not going to make any difference. Let's bring it down to about half. Notice it got to full filter effect, right? And then it immediately fell to that sustain level. So that decay is actually instantaneous right now. Let's slow the decay down as well. It actually usually works to have the decay be a little slower than the attack. So now it's going to have a little bit of filter effect. It's going to have that bright sound kind of slowly blossom in, and then it's going to slowly tail away, and it's going to come back to that kind of plain filtered sound. Alright, so we could actually have it do more effect. Okay, or we could have it do even a little bit less. So just like a gentle thing. And actually my decay still feels a little too short. I'm going to slow the decay way down. Okay, if you have a low sustain level, then you're going to want a lot of decay. If you have a higher sustain level, then you could have a slower decay. All right. So that's how you change the filter attack. So this is a really nice way to apply the filter. And so you're basically creating an envelope. And we've used the envelope tool before in other programs. The envelope is defining, the amplitude of those sounds. You're kind of shaping the sound. So pretty much all synthesizers are going to have this kind of envelope where you have an attack, a decay, a sustain, and a release. Some synthesizers will have 2 decays where they'll have an initial decay and then a secondary decay. Or you'll be able to, you can actually just draw the shape in a box. And so you'll see variations on this, but you're always going to have some kind of envelope tool. So let's go ahead and just completely take that filter envelope off and compare the two sounds. So here's our no change sound. Okay. Now we're going to add that filter amount back in. I actually want to bring it back down a little bit. So now if I have these slow blossoming sounds, and you can just slightly sculpt it. And you get that kind of cool sound. So that's an example of using a filter envelope.